April's record, and in the month of April, there were 7 of those. But just to go back for the last several years, back in 2014, there were 8 total for the year. 2015, 17. 2016, 36. The law changes starting basically in 2017. So since then, we've had 73, 62, 74, and this year 55. So the records clerks, both in the police department and in our municipal court's office for records on all of these things, are just becoming voluminous and very time consuming. So personnel will be affected, I think, down the road if this continues. Police overtime report for April 2021. In 2029, there were 29 hours of overtime. In 2021, there were 104, which is a plus 75, bringing us to a total of 207 additional hours of overtime in 2021 versus 2020. Most of those hours, in fact, 79 of them, are between covering a shift and covering the desk, with 25 in special assignment. We are it's open for discussion, but not necessarily tonight. We're in a little bit of a personnel crunch. We're back down a few specials who filled in for things like covering the shift and doing dispatching for us. We lost an officer who was especially working in our school, who went to another district. So we're going to let things play out a little bit. I think we're covered for the summer, but I think that we're probably moving toward a little bit of an expansion of personnel come the fall. It's in discussion and in investigation. With what's going on in the country, I am concerned with candidates, people interested in working in things like police. And I think we have to be prepared for that. I know Mr. Bryce and I have discussed some changes in the civil service regulation that may be helpful or hurtful, depending on how you want to look at it. So it's down the road. That's it, Mr. Lamb.
Okay, thank you. The only thing that I was going to mention, Public Works, and maybe Mr. Bryce can fill us in, but I know that they've been working on well 3, and it looks like it's getting it's not going to be as time consuming as they expected. So your understanding?
True. They are somewhat less optimistic about the overall results, though. They think that basically they can only get it to the point that it's only going to be functionable for a few more years. It was a well that was built in the 1940s. It was last rehabbed in the 1980s, and they weren't really able to get aggressive in doing some of the treatments and rehabilitation that they thought they were going to be able to do down lower in the column. What they did, instead of going high pressure as they got down lower in the column, they depended more upon chemical treatments and lower pressure treatments than doing the high pressure treatment. So they are going to prepare an overall report for us at the end of it, but we may have to consider in a few years another type of
Something we need to prepare for.
Yeah, and now is a good time to do it with a lot of the money, the infrastructure money that may be available to us coming out. So we're going to be talking to them when they're done the project. They're going to prepare a report for us and let us know where we stand. But at this point, they weren't as able to get as aggressive with rehab in this well as they thought they were going to, and actually exceed what it was doing. They're basically able to meet what it was doing beforehand as far as performance, but they're not going to be able to exceed that, which I thought they may have been able to do.
Very good. And the sewer repair that we were discussing down on between Brown Avenue and McGee and Vance, that turned out from Oswald turned out to be a good thing also. The repair was done. There's a little bit more they have to come back for, my understanding, but they did pull up the manhole covers and there wasn't the amount of water that we were seeing in the past.
Yeah,
so hopefully this will cut that down.
Yeah, after they got done the repairs, they were very happy, and that came in a lot lower than we thought we were going to be able to have to spend on that repair. So we're waiting on, there is one more area that they're recommending to do repairs, and we're waiting on that report as well. But for what we got those 4 locations fixed for,
Looks like it was a pretty good deal.
we were very happy with the way we got that done.
Anita, you have a public affairs report?
Yeah, oh gosh, I just to let you know that most everything, as we did last year, Public Works gave me stakes, and Dave helped me to go out there and put stakes out there so that the gazebo could be used for the concerts. It will be used for the concerts and for the movies on the bay. We're having the townwide garage sale. There's so many things going on. If you get a chance to go down and please look at the garden. I printed the pictures out because they're just beautiful. Beautification members, Bev, Sullivan, Sully, Jim, and Jim McDonald and Vicky, they brought down 20 bags of cedar mulch and they planted this beautiful garden. And it is dedicated to all the members of the Friends of Beautification. And a few pictures, they are just beautiful. I printed them out. I wanted you to see them. 2 weeks ago, several members planted 20 pots of perennials to replace plants that were lost during the winter. We're very fortunate that this group really works to beautify. And thank you very much. Your names are all will be thanked. I also want to mention that Dave and I run the Clean Ocean Action Beach Sweep twice a year. And while we were there, new members of our community were very excited about keeping this clean, not just April and October. They wanted to do something more. So they set up a committee, and I'm going to be getting in touch with them and get a flyer going if people would like to join them. There's 17 of them already, members. They're calling themselves the Lavalette Environmental Cleanup Committee. They're going to meet, and then they're going to go out twice a month and clean up the town and make it litter free. I'm going to get a nice flyer going because they would like to also engage some of our children. So I'll get a flyer going and I'll bring it over to the school. And so it's great to have them. And I really thank them very much. They sent me letters and left me telephone numbers. So all the only thing is, I don't know what's happening for Memorial Day. I've been in touch with people. They haven't been in touch with me back, but I would love to see, at least if we're not going down to the field for it, because it might be hard to keep people distanced there. Like we did last year was beautiful. We did it right up here and we put it on Zoom, and like we're doing this meeting. So we might be doing that still. And I'll have to let people know about that because our next meeting is after Memorial Day. Memorial Day would be the 31st on a Monday. But I'm trying to get our speaker back, and I'm trying to get the singers back. And we'd love to do something because Memorial Day has always been great. And I was telling Councilwoman Philippone that the children in the school did something last year, and they talked about Memorial Day. And one boy in the 3rd grade wrote down that the thing he missed most about Memorial Day, which he loves, was the service. He just loved going to the service that we have every year at the field. And hopefully in 221, we will be down there with this full service that we always have.
Can we discuss that
Yes.
until I'm finished?
Yes.
We need some direction on that because we're getting questions, so.
Okay. Yes, we sure
Bring that
can.
up on the unfinished.
Okay. And just make sure everybody remembers that the 4th of July, the fireworks is going to be on the 11th. So you can watch fireworks any place else on the 4th, but come back and join us. The concert, the patriotic concert, and the 11th. And these should be in all the bulletin boards. Okay. All right, good.
Can I have a motion to accept the reports?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philippone?
Yes.
Councilperson Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
Can I make
Motion
one more
passes.
addition here? I'd like to let everyone know that, Bob came up with a wonderful idea with the boys that were lost in our town, and we put signs up on the streets. And they happened to live at 6 or 8 blocks in a row.
Yes.
And we put the signs up, and their signs were beautiful. I took pictures of them, and we talked about it on Memorial Day service last year. And also we found out that somebody in town, a family in town, a grandmother had served in both world wars and never had her name put on the monument. And we did that. We had her name put on the monument. We talked about it. We had her picture showing from Memorial Day. And the speaker, Frank Crivelli, spoke about it. And I took all the pictures of everything. And what I did was I sent it all to the New Jersey League of Municipalities magazine, and she is going to put that in the June edition. So in the June edition of this will be all about Lavalette and how caring and how remembering we are for those that were lost. So I just want to let you know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read out the on consent resolutions. 2020 or 132 is authorizing the budget to be read by title only at the time of the public hearing. 133 is authorizing the refund of the United Excavating Company, Inc. for the unused off-duty escrow in the amount of $44.59. 134 is approving the facilities use application to Remax by the Sea to hold an open house event in front of their business located at 406 Grand Central Avenue with tables, chairs, a DJ, and a tent for coverage on Saturday, May 29th, from between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. 135 is authorizing the Mayor LaCicero to sign and execute an amendment to the OC Cares Agreement of July 20th, 2020 between the Borough of Lavalette and the County of Ocean. 136 is approving 2 raffle licenses to the Lavalette PTO to be held on June 4th, 2021 from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Chandler Field. 137 is approving the annual salary stipend for additional titles paid to specific employees for 2021. Sure. Sure. 138, approving the proposal from O'Donnell Stanton in the amount of $3,450 for the preparation and submission of the 2021 local improvement grant for the improvements of the pickleball courts.
Mr. Lamb,
If
if I could on that,
Yes.
the description from the engineer actually erroneously describes it as the existing tennis courts. It is going to be done, that work would be done, or proposed to be done, in the location where the pickleball courts are right now, so the north courts.
Okay.
That's what that's for, and I will clarify that with the
And
agenda.
I'd like to say something there also. When I had asked about the grant, there wasn't any grant at one point, but now there is a grant. And they talked about the SAGE. And Bob was very good working with our engineer. And he has done SAGE grants before, so O'Donnell is working on that. So I want to thank you very much for pursuing that, because that's going to be a nice grant. Help us to make the pickleball courts much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
139, approving a facilities use application to Gail Bray of the Ocean County Kids Run Club to hold the summer youth program at Chandler Field Mondays through Thursdays, starting August 2nd through August 10th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. 140, approving the facilities use application of the Vibe Sessions with Kate LLC to hold is at Chakra sound classes on the Ocean Beach at Virginia Avenue, starting at May 27th through October 21st, Mondays and Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. I have no idea what chakra is, but I
It's like
guess.
a meditation.
Oh, okay.
Meditation.
All right. Maybe we can try a little later here.
We'll work on it.
140A, authorizing the lease purchase of a 2021 Ford Ranger pickup truck from Lester Glenn Ford in the amount of $36,434 to be paid in 3 annual payments of $12,899.55. That's an addition. You and I talked recently, and that was it was hard to find a truck at that time. So
Yeah, correct. We had really scour a lot of dealerships. Traditionally, too, we buy stuff off a state contract. The state contract doesn't currently have a light duty pickup on there. We looked at other cooperatives, but the delivery date would be at least 9 months out. We were trying to even order.
incredible.
There's one pickup truck we were last year, full-size pickup for the police department. We still haven't received delivery on that.
Thank you for that. 140B, accepting the donation of 2 American flags from Nicholas Simzak of 102 Bond Avenue.
Nice.
That-
Thank you.
Just something on that.
Thank you.
Nick is a retired medic and he rides with the Lavalette First Aid Squad. So
Oh, great.
he donates 2
Good.
flags every year to the
Yes, he does.
township.
Terrific.
Thank you, Nick.
So if we can have a consent motion, except for off consent is 137.
So moved.
Roll call.
Councilman Bobrowski.
Yes.
Councilman Philpott.
Yes.
Councilperson Salem.
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale.
Yes.
Councilman Fincher.
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes. Off consent is 137. That's the approving of the annual salary stipend for additional titles paid to specific employees for 2021.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes,
Councilman Stockdale?
Abstain.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes. So now we have the public hearing for 2021 approved budget. I'll let Mr. Bryce introduce the people that will be introducing that particular budget, and I'll let you go from here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lamb. Today we do have the CFO, Chris Searfeld, here. As online, we have Mr. Bob Oliwa, and then we also have Steve on board as well. At this time, would you like to say anything, or would you like me to turn it over to Bob? At this point, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Oliwa to go ahead and give the presentation.
All right, thank you very much. The budget hearing on our on the borough's introduced budget of April 5th, 2021. The budget was advertised in the Ocean Star. It was advertised for the proposed hearing on May 3rd, which was canceled. We have a hearing on that budget tonight. Also, this budget was reviewed by the State of New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. And based on the review, there were no changes required to the introduced 2021 budget. So we can forge ahead, so to speak, for the to conduct the hearing and the and determine have a vote on the proposed amendment and have a vote on the proposed adoption of the budget. Now, this budget is comprised of 32% of our overall tax levy. The general taxes are comprised of the county, which comprises 48% of the overall levy. This is based on our 2021 history. The tax levy 2021 is not in the books yet. The schools 20%, and as I said, local 32%. The overall tax rate is 82.1 cents in 2020. In 19, it was 97.9 cents, but that was after a reval. The taxes on that, just to get us an amount for what was assessed to local residents at $875,000 in 2020, which is right around the average assessment. So for the local taxes, Borough of Lavalette, $2,231.25, county $3,500, and local school $1,452.50, $7,183.75. Again, that's not even a percent of 875. It's 0.82%. That's considered a relatively low overall general tax rate. Now, as far as the structure of the budget, remains basically the same when you compare it to 2020. The use of the surplus, right around 19%. Miscellaneous revenues anticipated 15%. Our receipts from delinquent taxes about 1%. And the major share comes from local taxes. That's 65% of the budget structure for 2021 is introduced. That's a $9,425,000 budget rounded. It's up 2.12% over 2020. As far as the revenue is concerned, the largest percentage is attributable to salaries and wages, 43% in 21, and that compares exactly to what it was in 2020. Other expenses, 34%. Our deferred charges and statutory expenditures, that would be our pension payments, Social Security payments, 9%. Capital improvements, right around 1%. Debt service went down 105,000. 8% in 2021, 10% in 2020. So that's favorable. You can attribute it to the pay down in the debt as we move on year to year. Now, just some statistics as far as tax rates, assessments, overall taxes. The local tax rate as introduced was 25.6 cents. There will be an amendment to bring that down to the prior level in 2020, which was 25.5 cents. Overall, that was 0.1% of an increase over 2021. That was the introduced budget. Once the amendment is considered by the governing body and adopted, there will be no increase in the local tax rate. Obviously, no change from the prior year in the tax rate, and the tax rate will be 25.5%, which is the same as it was in 2020. The overall valuation tax bill, by the way, was up around $4 million, not that much of an increase. And once the amendment is considered by the governing body to adopt it, if it passes, the local taxes will only be up right around $14,000. It's attributable to the increases in assessments only. On a residence assessed at $875,000, the local amount to be paid will remain unchanged when we consider the amendment. It'll be $2,231.25. No change over the prior year, no percent in the change. If your residence was assessed, if a residence was assessed at additional amounts year to year, there would be a $9.50 increase if you compare average assessments only. But if the assessment remains the same, no increase in the local taxes. Now, I mentioned that the overall budget is up it's up 2.12%. And the funding of it, the increases and decreases in the revenue have to equal that increase in the general appropriation. So at introduction, the surplus was increased by $170,000. That's the utilization of it to pay for that $195,000. There was a decrease in grant revenue of $49,000. So that has to be made up for, all things being equal. And delinquent taxes, the anticipation of delinquent taxes was increased by around $36,000. And based on the introduced budget, the taxes would have had to been raised by $38,897. With the amendment, if it passes, the increase will be $13,897. That's about all that we had on the overview. If there's any specific questions, we can have a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion. Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philippone?
Yes.
Council President
Yes.
Salem? Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
So we're going to be,
You have any, do we have any questions out there in, okay, we'll give it a couple of minutes, or a minute. See if we get anybody.
Now, where's that, if you go to the bottom on the menu? Where's the category of comment? On the menu bar on the bottom. Or participants, right? That's how they can pose a question. Yes.
Mr. O, before so we're giving this a little more time for people to ask questions and make comments, but I just wanted to ask you a question. I always looked at the budget as like a three-legged stool. You know, you have the school, you have the county, and you have the municipals. And it was always about a third and a third and a third. Has that ever changed where one of the legs looks like it's getting a little larger than the other two?
County.
The county.
Much larger than?
I will tell you, I don't know if it really was a third over a third over a third, that being counting the schools and the locals.
Always.
For the most part, it is matched over the past few years, those percentages that I did cite. And again, on those overall assessments, I just wanted to elaborate on that. Again, the borough relies heavily on local tax to fund the budget. And on those overall assessments, 96% of the assessments would be residential assessments. The commercial properties, right around 2%. Vacant land, 1.5. So that equals just about 100% right there. That's that overall breakdown of the assessments, and it's very similar to 2020.
Thank you. Any comments or anything, Matt?
Just to remind everyone how to comment, if you put your mouse down the bottom of the screen at the toolbar, it should pop up participants. If you click on participants, you should be queued where you would have either a hand up or it says pose question, I believe.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're going to close the public portion of the
For budget.
budget. And so can we have a approval of the, should we have a first
We're gonna
motion?
have a motion
Amend.
to amend.
Okay.
I'll make that
Approval
motion.
of the amendment to the 2021 approved budget. We have
I made the motion.
a motion. We have a second. We have a roll call.
Well, they have to discuss. And then we'll do the roll call.
Okay.
Does everybody is in agreement?
Yes.
No,
The amendment? She wants to
the
discuss.
amendment essentially does what I asked for,
Keep it
and
flat.
we agreed to take the slight increase that was originally proposed, which was at a cost of approximately $25,000, to find $25,000 somewhere and get rid of the increase, which is what this amendment actually does successfully. So,
And they did a good job of doing that.
yes, they did.
Remove that.
Okay, we did it.
Anybody else?
Roll call, Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philpone,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale.
Yeah.
Councilman Pinter.
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been approved.
Thank you.
Is the adoption also a?
Yep,
So
now we're
now-
gonna do it, that's adopting it
That was
all
about the
together.
increase, and now the adoption of the 2021 budget. Can I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call?
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philpone,
Yes.
Council President Salem.
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale.
Yes.
Councilman Pinter.
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All passed.
Okay.
Resolutions
Good, good, good.
off consent.
You want to say, they can
We can dismiss them.
dismiss Bob.
Oh,
And Steve?
yeah, Bob, you didn't want to
He's
hang around.
okay.
You want to hang around for the rest of the meeting?
You did a great job, Bob.
Good, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And Chris is here.
And Krista too.
Of course.
So you may go.
Thank you, Chris.
No. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank
too.
you.
Night, Bob.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night.
You can go.
Good night, Chris.
Bob,
We
Bob.
had-
Oh, he left. Steve was hanging around.
Oh, Steve.
He left.
He's good.
Okay, we're having the resolutions of off consent, 2021-141, authorizing a refund of $55 for a water bill that was erroneously paid by the previous owner of 12 Persian Boulevard. For some reason, that address.
Sounds rings a bell.
Second.
Okay.
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philpone,
Abstain.
Council President Salem.
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale.
Yes.
Councilman Pinter.
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes. Motion 2021-142, approving facilities use application of Geo Basketball LLC to hold a 2-week basketball youth camp on our new basketball courts on Monday through Thursday, July 5th through July 9th, and July 12th through July 16th, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Discussion.
So,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb, not to go ahead here, but the next item is Team Hill.
Yeah.
He had applied last month, and you sent me back to renegotiate with him some dates.
Okay.
So that is, he had applied initially. He has revised his dates, and he is next. I don't know if we want to wait 2 of them at the same time, and see.
Do they conflict, Mr. Bryce?
They do.
If I may, the application that accompanied 142, the first one we just read, was pretty descriptive as to what was going to include, who was going to be aimed at, and you got a really good flavor and an understanding of what was being presented. The second one, although they did do it last year, it just talks about a basketball festival, a hoop festival, a whole lot of breakdown as to what that encompasses. I know there were some tournaments, I believe, that were going on down there.
Yeah, seems like a lot of
The
kids were there, yeah,
referees and,
yeah.
you know, actually organized games going on. With,
Yeah.
was some of the people that
Yeah.
lived there pointed out to
Yeah.
me that, you know, that they got very familiar with the referee's whistle blowing on a regular basis. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we would handle this. Because
Yeah.
The first application, I believe, is for about 2 weeks. The next application is, although he did truncate it somewhat from the initial application, it's still pretty encompassing.
Is it possible to have both? To
I'm
change,
not sure.
schedule to have both? Is it possible?
Does anybody have any
Looking at the-
suggestions on how we can resolve it?
Is there any way to coordinate the tons? The second application, if it's hard to look at both of them simultaneously on the computer, but the second application is on Tuesdays and Thursdays only for morning hours. And the rest is after hours, and that's the conflict. Tuesday and Thursday morning from 9 to, what did I just read? 11.
Isn't Mary Walls there at
Yes,
9?
yeah.
It's a whole other problem.
Yes, well, she's done by
We use it
9.
9. I was
could hear her
suggesting
screaming
that
at 9:15
Yeah.
today. I could hear
Yeah.
it from my bedroom window.
maybe it would be better to
So
start
she's-
things in the morning at 9:15, so.
I
it gives
mean,
her a chance
if
to
the
get off the
second
court.
application just
9:15.
somehow rearranged those 2 weeks, the 2 weeks in July time-wise.
We talking about Hill.
The second, yes, the Hill application, not schedule 9 to 11 for those 2 weeks. Schedule a different time or different weeks. It's just a question of 2 weeks overlap for those hours.
We did go back to it once.
We go back to them?
So what you're saying is,
Have him move his date.
well, so what you're saying is that you guys would, you'd be okay with approving for the two,
Yeah,
the one
as long
with
as
the
they-
2 weeks,
As long as they don't
and
conflict.
then
And have the other one fit
Yeah.
into that schedule, however
however that
it
is.
works.
And start the 9:15 so they don't.
The-
interrupt.
One of the other things I brought up with Mr. Hill was we were opposed to the 3-hour slot being used. So that's why he truncated down to a 2-hour slot in the morning.
And then you
Mugio would
brought it
be a
from
3-hour
3 to-
slot.
2 days too, brought it down to 2 days.
So he's changed it quite a bit already.
Yeah, but I'm saying
but it's got
Mugio,
more
Kept the
weeks.
same dates, but he just
Same dates, but
shortened
hours.
Shorten the hours.
And then the other guy.
perhaps we want to ask Mugio to do the same thing. 'cause we
Well,
did ask
but
Mr.
the Mugio basketball camp is a 2-week in succession. It may, I mean, I don't run basketball camps, but I would think that the camp being continuous is helpful, not break it up. The other is more of a recreational kind of thing, not an instructional kind of thing, if I understand them correctly.
That's what it sounds
The
like.
Mugio is an instructional kind of camp.
both instructional and then there's gameplay.
Right, in the Mugio,
Mhm.
No,
Oh, Hill.
in the
Oh,
Hill. I don't know if
But
someone,
Mugio, it looks like it's just a 2-week,
just a
I
2-week
would
period.
say, just a 2-week
Right.
summer
So
camp.
if there's some way that we can get the two, why don't we approach both of them? And see if between the two applicants, that they can work out a time schedule that works for both of them.
Would it help to put those two parties together instead of us trying to be the middle?
That's what I said, try to get those two guys.
A lot easier.
or could we at least approve, and again, I'm going to jump ahead to Hill, but Hill, I think his May is actually now, he wants to start. I think it was, today was one of the dates he wanted to start.
Hill
So
from
Could we at
May
least
to,
approve his
Hill from
partial?
May to June 25th is not an issue.
Right, yeah, that's the afternoon.
It's the July weeks so why don't we approve the May to June 25th, 4 to 6 PM, Mondays and Wednesdays, and leave the June 28th to August 31st, 9 through 11, to work out the 2 weeks of overlap with the other.
9:15.
So you amended 142 then to
43.
143.
143, okay, so
Yeah, approve only
you're
part of
okay
it.
with 142?
I'm okay with 142, provided that these two camps can work out the 2-week overlap.
Approving the 143 that made it June 25th, which is the 4 to 6,
Correct.
and nothing for the mornings at this time.
You want to approve 142 on its face and then work it out?
No,
No, they have to work out the
Work out
overlap.
deal. Okay, so we're not, you want to table? both
Table
those?
142,
well, we can
approve,
amend 143 to just give it the morning.
right,
Okay.
approve partial
In the
on 143 and table the other half.
And
If anything, you know, we went
And let them know
to
9:15.
we asked them to change what he does it. Now we have somebody else come in, essentially that's the same thing he did, the same 3-hour time.
Can I say something only because I talked to these people and,
Mhm.
the 2-week camp, I, with Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 to 11 for Mr. Hill, he scaled that down as well as the Mondays and Wednesdays, 4 to 6. Okay. But as far as the 2-week camp, and I don't make decisions, I'm just
No, if you
saying,
could
being that I
flip
talked to
through it.
this guy, this is only 2 weeks. It's Monday through Thursday, those 2 weeks only. So 9 to 12, I mean, I would think, why couldn't we just tell Hill to that those 2 weeks, those 2 days that he wants, the Tuesdays and Thursdays for those 2 weeks, that somebody else has it just for those 2 weeks?
Yeah, that can be
Only
done.
because it's a 2-week camp, you know what I mean? And this way he can schedule his guys or his kids or whatever for not for those 4 days, really what it is. It's just 4 days.
Right, it's Tuesday, Thursday for 2 weeks.
Correct.
So
It's
he
only
can-
4, really, it's only 4 days.
And
That,
maybe Hill could go Monday, Wednesday, Friday for those 2 weeks instead of Monday through Thursday.
Is everybody in favor of the way Donnelly explained that?
Mm-hmm.
you understand what
Are
I'm
we gonna
saying?
address the fact that one is 2 hours and one is 3 hours? That was the sticking point last time.
Well, it was the
Yeah.
sticking point. That's correct.
3
However,
hours
this is
a
only
long
2
time.
weeks. It's not for the whole entire summer like Mr. Hill wanted. Mr. Hill wanted 9 to 12 or 9 to, was it? Yeah, 9 to 12, Monday through Thursday, all summer long. This is only 2 weeks in July from 9 to 12, and then that's it. Do you know what I'm saying? And then Mr. Hill can continue on with his. I'm just trying to make it. When I talk to them, I try to explain the situation. It's very difficult to have to, he had to deal with Mr. Hill and explain everything with him. When they, I mean, I'm sure you can agree with me. When you have to explain everything to them, it's difficult to get them to understand how it works. And we try to do the best that we can, but I mean, we're trying to help everybody and make it as easy as possible so that everybody can access that.
Well, Mr. Hill was very accommodating. when I
He
spoke to him,
really
And that's where, I went through him with that set of rules that we wanted him to
Mhm.
comply with. He complied with it. Now, we're kind of changing it again after that. I think I'm kind of going back on my word with him because we had arranged this based upon what we had discussed last meeting. And now this other application comes in, that could change the terms, and I agree with you still. And that's where
He complied. I mean,
Yeah.
he complied with what we wanted, just because another application comes back, and I don't think that's fair. He did everything we asked him to do.
Who submitted the first application?
Bill did,
And the first come, first served.
Mm,
and he altered it for us.
Yoga, with this.
Everybody has to
Just
adjust.
because you're first doesn't mean you have sole propriety. I don't know either one of these gentlemen, but I second application from the Bugio was pretty,
Specific.
you know, you understood exactly what was gonna happen. With the hill, it was like, you didn't know what you're gonna get. Maybe, you know, different knowledge than I did, but
I mean, after you all research, you know, researching Hill a little bit would explain. I mean, he's, you know, his credentials are excellent. I mean, he's
Look,
coaches at the D1 level.
there's a lot of days and a lot of hours within the day. Work it out.
Yeah, I agree.
Why don't we
Somebody
amend
move their hours,
143?
somebody change their days, somebody
Give it 2
change their
weeks, right?
weeks.
Let me ask this, if Mugio doesn't apply, are we approving Hill with what we came up with?
How about
What?
we put one of them on the back courts? Maybe we ask Hill to use the back courts for a 2-week period. Let Mugio use the front courts.
For the 2-week period?
Just for that 2-week period.
Bay courts.
The Bay courts.
older courts.
The older
Yeah.
courts.
Are they good?
Are they
They're not
playable?
horrible. They're not dangerous. There's nothing, there's no cracks. There's nothing that's going to get anybody hurt.
I mean, they are regulation size where the other ones are
Yeah,
not.
we would probably, and we should probably do this anyway, just maybe paint them, the lines of the court. The nets are good. It won't affect it. We just put new lighting in there. It's a different surface. It's more the old,
It's concrete,
it's
yeah.
more the old
Safe enough?
playground concrete that, you know, we played on and we seem to do fine as kids, but it's not the professional
You can
standards,
teach a
but,
kid to shoot a lot better on those than you can on the other ones.
It's only for
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Metal backboard in there.
Exactly.
yeah. So
Teach them to hit
maybe we
NBC, nothing but
we
cop.
facilitate it, but give them the other course.
If they're willing to use, either one of them willing to use the back courts, that would accommodate both with no changes. I have no
We'll deal
problem
with
with
that then.
that.
How are we gonna do the motion then? How do you wanna do that?
Subject to the approval of,
Of
whoever.
these amendments.
for
that
those
were
2
discussed.
weeks, maybe he'll using the back courts for just those 2 weeks.
I mean, you're both on the same page, right, Donnelly and?
Oh, yeah.
Well, plus encouraging 9:15 because the aerobics class is there at 9.
Well, that would only be for the front courts. The use of the back courts would be different at that point because she's not back there, I don't believe.
Well, they need to be, they need to,
Well, they.
aerobics needs to be off the courts at 9 o'clock,
They have to get off the courts.
at 9,
So I'm just
and the other ones come on.
saying, 9
But you accommodate, you stop 5-10 minutes early.
You know, Mr. Hill told me he's worked with Mary in the
He has
past, and
worked
they've had a
okay.
fine transition. They've had no problems.
Okay.
Okay.
Transition there.
So should we just leave that be?
Yeah, times, yeah, let them,
Let the times, but the approving the facilities use, we'll make a motion for that and we'll amend the times with both parties.
and then one of them will have to use the back courts.
Okay. Is that everybody's
So
understanding?
the motion will be to accept all of this subject to the approval of the two parties to the variations of
To accommodate each other,
what time or court or whatever.
yes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Okay,
And
we're
then
gonna
this for
start with
142 or
One
is this for?
42, and then I need a second.
Second,
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Fincher,
yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
And then for
Make a motion for
143,
143.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem.
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Fincher,
yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes. Okay, 2021-144, approving a facilities use application to Beach Butler LLC on our Ocean Beach to deliver beach chairs and umbrellas on the beach for beach goers and pick up when done starting Saturday, May 21st. Oh, not too much activity there, through Friday, September 10th, 2021, sunrise to sunset. Discussion on that, or?
I actually have some information. I did speak to the applicant, Michael Mazzola. He actually may be on Zoom. I don't know if you can find him at Mike Mazzola. We clarified a few things. This is not going to include any sort of food delivery. He will not set up close to the water. That was a complaint in years past that his clients were setting up right on in the prime spots. He would set back. He would stagger any multiple clients that he has. In other words, if he has 2 or 3 clients on each beach, he would stagger the spots between them, so there are people in between there.
Okay.
I spoke to him about the way that the circle or semicircle that we've been concerned about in the past, that he's going to consolidate that, kind of squish it down a little more amongst the people in that one group. He usually sets up, this is where the problem has come in the past, because of the way it works. He does get the equipment from the clients at about 6 to 7 a.m. and he leaves it there. What we had talked about was we would have to pass something within the borough here and let him know that if your clients don't show up by a certain time, then we're going to have the beach patrol go ahead and call you and say, these chairs are up there, they're taking up space, nobody showed up, please come take them back.
Okay.
So he has agreed that he would come back if called.
Is that
For
extra
no-shows.
work for beach people or?
Well, they're not cleaning it up, they're just calling him.
Okay,
So I mean, yeah, I guess a phone call, but they're not gonna clean it up.
Okay.
No, he's gonna come clean it up.
gotcha.
Yeah, but let me clarify that deal.
We're gonna use a 2-hour time frame on that, or,
I think noon, is that what you're talking about?
well,
They'll
if
show
he
up by
sets
noon?
up if the beach opens at 9,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes he sets up 2 hours before our
yeah,
beach even
but I'm
opens.
just saying, from the beach opening time at 9, if somebody doesn't occupy the things by 11,
10 o'clock, the checkers get on.
do they? Okay.
What time's our beach cleanup finished though? By 9, certain places by 9 o'clock? So you can't get up there before guys get off the beach.
That was we never had that issue.
Didn't have an issue?
I don't remember that being an
Okay.
issue with
Maybe
that.
they get out earlier than
Yeah.
that, I don't remember.
I don't remember that being. Another thing too with the umbrellas, he assured me he will dig the umbrellas in and put a mound of sand up on it, and then he leaves the umbrella closed. So that it doesn't really catch wind.
Okay. Sounds good.
Those are the couple things I
All right.
remember
Mhm.
being issues in the past. I don't know if you have any other concerns.
Nope.
And I do see him up there if we'd like
Yeah.
to go ahead and ask any
Yes,
questions.
If I may, Bob, I do have a question. Just, I don't know if it's a legal thing or not. Why are we approving anything for days when the beach is not even officially open? Why are we regulating what's going on starting May 21st when the beach doesn't open till June
I think we could amend that.
and also till July 10th? We close on Labor Day. It might be easy not to specify dates, but just to specify the beach.
Beach open.
Season?
Beach is open.
Beach
Beach
season.
season. Good, okay.
I think we could probably do that.
I also think that we should put some regulation in, such as not before such and such a time in the morning. We don't want it setting up at 7 o'clock just because the beach cleanup. If they start at the south end of town cleaning up going north, so are we going to set up Trenton Avenue, for instance, at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 8:30?
You know, I want to go back, Mrs. Philpott, just talk about what you talked about the beach season. The thing is, though, he would not be permitted to do it outside of the season
Oh.
because we still,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. George, if you could weigh in here, the operation of any enterprise, commercial enterprise on the beach at any time is what requires the facilities use. So even if somebody wanted to have yoga in January, they would still have to come get a permit from us,
We've
even though it's
approved
outside
yoga.
the,
We've even approved yoga after the beach.
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Season's over.
so we would still need to go ahead and approve
Yeah.
that, so.
These dates?
For
You're talking
him,
about the
yeah, if
dates?
he's actually gonna
Fine.
operate up there and set stuff up, I
This
think
is-
we have to approve him, and then we also, if we want him
Okay.
to abide by any of our
Okay.
requirements here, we want to go ahead and keep those dates in place.
Okay.
But
That,
That's good.
and I think that you guys need to really, after this summer or whatever, take this facilities use application and make it uniform for all, because, sometimes you guys say you don't want to commercialize the beach, but even approving yoga, you're commercializing the beach. I mean, no matter what's up there, surf camp, this, so you can't say no, because you don't want someone to start in May because it's not the beach season, but then approve yoga. I mean, because that, between me and Bob, that screws us up with answering the questions, because then it has to be uniform. It becomes very difficult for us to decipher with the questions that we get. I think that this application needs to be revamped completely.
Well, I think we've talked about some of this in the past, having to do with some of the fees or how we collect fees. Certain, the 10% applies to certain things, and some things are free, and
Well, we don't have that.
overuse of all of our facilities. We need to look at our whole fee
Yeah.
schedule and this,
Yeah.
and how it applies, and find out just what do we want. I mean, every beach is now used for something, early in the morning or late in the evening, and that's okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
But
We're
do
gonna try
do
this
do we
summer.
want to have a different kind of control or a different kind of, some of these affect the taxpayers more than others, and you have to consider that. Any kind of cleanup, you're taking beach space away from other people. I think what Mr. Bryce said about not setting up near the water line is very helpful.
I think it's
Because
done
that's
well.
been
I have
that's been a
another
complaint.
question though
I think it was
about
done
this.
well.
He has not, the gentleman that does this has not been the problem. The service was what came into issue back when.
The mayor worked with him, and
I
now
have
you're
a-
working with him. I
I
think
have
it's
a
good.
question though. Suppose somebody says, okay, I only want to be up there for 3 or 4 hours. When are the things going to get picked up?
Mike, you want to take that question?
Sure. Take them off.
Yeah, right when they leave, I'll go get them. I'll just go get them. Yeah.
Just
They're
go
gonna
get the
call
stuff
you
when they
and-
wanna leave.
You're going to pick them up within a,
Yeah, whenever they leave. What's that?
Whenever they're ready to leave.
when they, what's the time frame though? If they say they're going to be off at 1:30, how long would it be from 1:30 until you get there to pick it up?
Get there at 1:30.
5-10 minutes. Like I go right away after they call me.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good to me. It worked out.
Anybody have any questions?
What's the expanse of this crew?
You're not on.
Mike, what's the expanse of your crew? How many guys do you have working? How many vehicles do you have?
Just one vehicle. I have like 5 guys total, but it's usually just me and one other guy every day.
On an average, what would you say, how many clients did you have on a weekday versus a weekend?
Weekdays, maybe 3 or 4. On the weekend, 4 or 5, maybe 6.
Okay. And the main concern we had, or I had personally, was your ability to set up in what I perceive to be the prime spot right on the water's edge. And how, you said you're going to address that how?
I'm gonna move my chairs back way further, and also I remember last year sometimes we were in the way of the lifeguards, so we're gonna move away from them as well as far as we can. Last year we had a couple problems with local residents setting up their stuff in front of the lifeguards and close to the beach, and it wasn't my setups, but sometimes they thought it was. So it's hard to decipher whose is whose sometimes.
I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. All right.
Anybody else?
Just one last question. This just pertains to all of these facility use applications. If something were, I mean, do we have the right to rescind that for, during this, once we approve it, can we rescind it if there's a problem down the road that we didn't foresee or there's something?
I believe
Totally.
that is in there. That's
in
in that.
Mr. George,
It is. Okay.
Mr. George, you'd like to comment on that?
That's correct. That's correct. It's provided that it can be rescinded. It can be an ordinance violation. It can be disorderly. Also, it can be interference with the rights of the Republic in the areas of public access under Article 7.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else to add?
Mr. Lamb and Donald, I have a question for you. There is one hand up right now. Should we take a comment on this period? If it's
It's
regarding. this?
okay with the rest of the council.
Okay.
It's okay.
Good evening,
Mr.
Mayor
Speaker.
Council. Good evening, Mayor
Hello,
Council.
Mark.
111 Brown Avenue. How's everybody?
Good.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay. I personally am not in favor of this applicant. It's a unique business. It's not a business that I feel we need. It sprang up after Superstorm Sandy. I feel that as the former past president of the Business Association Lavalette, having dealt with all the work we did after the storm, I have some unique qualifications for my opinions. I hear that we are addressing some of the concerns. I did send most of you folks a text picture of a setup last summer at 7:30 in the morning. I counted in the picture, you can tell me if I got it incorrect, but I counted 15 chairs and 6 umbrellas in that semicircle that was there at McGee Avenue, right in front of where the lifeguard station is. So I hear you wish to address that, but we just kind of open it up. This is a dawn to dusk, and I'm looking at the paperwork the gentleman puts on his website. A dawn to dusk situation. This is not beach yoga that goes for 2 hours. This is not surf camp that goes for 2 or 3 hours, picks up, cleans up, and moves out. This is this is dawn to dusk all day long. Now, a comment that was brought up about the umbrellas. Well, the umbrellas get put up there, as I say, there were 6 umbrellas in that picture I sent you folks. So the umbrellas are down when they're set up. Now, when the people leave, what control do you have over those umbrellas going back into the down position, and therefore minimizing a risk of the wind blowing those umbrellas across the beach and creating a hazard to other bathers on the beach. I just feel that we're opening this up to, as Mr. George said, there's public access concerns here. I don't think it's a good business to allow a entity to have a space dedicated to their use on the beach. I just, that does not pass the smell test for a whole lot of things. And again, I'm not for it. So that's my opinion. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
Anybody else out there?
Mark,
Anybody else have any discussions regarding it?
No.
I know
think it's gonna be
having umbrellas
open
up is dangerous. If somebody is not there. I don't know whether everybody monitors the wind conditions that particular day. I don't know.
A lot of times, even if you don't set the umbrella up, the wind gets under it. If it isn't strapped closed, it's going to.
Mr. Lim, I also noticed something. I don't know if this is an error on the insurance form that's been submitted. It expires July 16th of 2021.
I have to, when it's renewal time, I'm gonna renew it for when the time comes.
So that if you'd have to send me a new one, I always look at that when I send it over. And if there's an expiration date. I
So
always-
technically, even if we approve it, we're only approving it till July
The show-
16th, 2021, subject to a renewal
We
policy.
approved it, then he's gonna get the extension. He doesn't need the extension. We approved it.
It's in effect right now, but it will expire in the middle of
Well,
in
you
the
can- you'd
beginning
have
of the
to give me a new
season.
one by
So you
July
have to
16th,
note that,
correct.
after the 16th of July, there would be no insurance to cover this. And
Like our attorney said, I mean, we can rescind it if something
Yes, no,
discovers
it'd be
that it's
rescinded.
dangerous or.
And as far as the dusk to dawn that Mark was talking about, I mean, you guys could also set certain.
I don't think it can be set up until we'll check with Public Works until they're done with. all
Certain
their-
times.
you
I
know,
mean, you
so-
could, instead of dawn to dusk, you guys could say
My concern
10 to
is,
3 or 10 to 4 or whatever, 9 to 4, whatever.
it's like, and I know it's been brought up in that, but if they're being set up at, let's say, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and those people don't get there, that's, even if they, we say they have to be off by 11 o'clock, but you're still occupying
Space.
that space that somebody else could go use.
Notice how many customers he had? He hasn't that many people anyway.
well, if there's 6 umbrellas on one beach,
Just one. We actually have 2 more hands. We gotta go through, let's get that clarified. And then we're gonna cut it at that, the 2 additional ones that I have raised right now. Laddie, can you acknowledge them?
I'm sorry, it kind of broke up a little bit. Can you say that again?
Yeah, we have two other hands up, so we have to acknowledge what they
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
question. Yep. Mr. Marino, you're up.
You're muted, Mr. Marino.
Unmute yourself.
He made a mistake about his best.
How about now? Can you hear me? Now, the only question I had, Joanne brought up the, I guess your insurance certificate. That you looked on the certificate and it said an earlier date than,
It currently expires on July 16th of 2021. But
okay,
have an opportunity to present an updated insurance policy as soon as it's renewed.
yeah. Now, I've been in the insurance business for 50 some odd years. What, does it also include workers' compensation? He said that he employs people to go on the beach and help them.
Doesn't have to according to.
Is it just for general liability, or does it also include workers' compensation?
We actually don't require that in our ordinance, nor do we require of any other third-party vendors that use our facilities. It's only the liability.
I'm sorry, am I coming through clear?
Yeah, we hear you. Ben.
You heard Mr. George, we don't need.
Hey, Joanne, bring that over here. I can't hear out of this one. Joanne.
Mr. George, you concur with that? We don't need workers' compensation.
No, they're independent contractors.
Oh, wait a minute, that's because I got the volume turned down.
All right, we answered you, Mr. Marino. Thank you. You go on to the next one, Matt.
No, it's fine.
Hello, Council. Christian England here. I'd like to endorse the comments made by Mr. Speaker. My address is 26 Bond, Unit B, Lavalette. And I thought Mr. Speaker's comments against this proposal are quite apt and spot on. So, thank you.
Chris, you have a question?
He agrees with Mark speaking.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a way that we could restrict this time-wise on a daily basis? Not before, for instance, 10 o'clock a.m. when the beach opens, everything must be removed by whatever time, 4:30 or 5:30 when the beach closes.
I have a better description.
The equipment cannot be left unattended for more than half an hour, 15 minutes, 1 hour, some number, and put some pretty strict restrictions. And I know down in, I mean, I haven't seen it in New Jersey, but down in Florida, when there is service like this to put equipment on the beach, there's an identification, like a flag or something that you stick in the sand that identifies that beach butler has actually brought it up there. Maybe we need to identify what belongs to me, the individual, and what belongs to the people who hired this company to bring the thing.
The only problem is if you start doing that, remember we were going to go and have things that behind the lifeguard stands. It's almost, he would probably prefer it because then now he's got a promotion
It doesn't have to
going.
have a name on it, it just has to have
A flag or
something. I think we just have to make sure that it's not there when they're breaking in the morning, that's all. I say,
Well, I don't know why anything has to be up there much before beach opens.
We don't know it. We don't know anything.
I mean, individuals can bring this stuff up there anytime they want, but to have
But it can't be when they're raking, so it has to be
No,
what?
I will say to what Mrs. Philippone is saying, last year when there were some complaints about Mike and his business, we did look into it and it was not his, it was actual private
wasn't,
citizens.
yeah. It
That's what I'm
wasn't him.
saying, if there was some kind of an identification, tie a red ribbon around something or something.
Maybe we'll work something out with him on the side of where,
Work something out.
yeah.
Okay,
And
Work
if
something
the
out.
You have to
customer,
make that
That's it.
2-hour rule universal to everyone.
I know, that's true.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think 2 hours is
Yeah.
too much. So do any resort areas, they don't want you every 2 hours.
No.
I beg to differ.
I could go
In
for a walk on the
Atlantis, they did. I
beach,
used to
leave
go
my
there at
chair up
6
there, go
a.m.
for a
get my
2-hour
chairs,
walk.
put my,
I mean,
I think we're spending
Never
a lot of time talking. about
did
something we
anybody
wanna try.
touch my stuff.
Why don't we just vote on it?
all right,
I think
Resort.
all right,
we're spending a lot of time.
discussion closed. Is there a motion?
Okay,
I'll make that
Can I
motion that we
motion.
have this going this summer.
Second?
Second?
Your second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
All those in
Why not?
favor, let's roll call.
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philpott,
I'm gonna have to say no without defined specifics on how to regulate it properly. I don't oppose the idea, but I need the specifics
Okay.
to protect everybody in this.
Council
So-
President Salem,
Yes, as long as he renews once he gets permission, he gets his insurance.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Fincher,
No,
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
3-2, passes.
Okay, passes.
Oh, nope, we go
Good.
back to the pass.
Oh.
Sorry, forgot about you. You passed. Forgot.
So what happens if the tie, that mayor not here?
You have to ask
So the
Mr.
borough would have to
George.
pick them up.
The mayor would say yes. The mayor would say yes, let me tell you.
Mr.
Never
George,
happened.
what would
George,
happen
what
if we
happens?
tie?
If you.
What would happen if we tie and there's no mayor?
The motion is denied. If you tie and there's no mayor.
Can we carry it to the
acting
next
mayor?
meeting when the mayor comes back?
Yeah, if the original person making the motion agrees to a motion to carry it, yes.
Okay,
But
Jim?
Jim's gonna say yes.
You asked for it, now you got it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
good.
So it passes.
passes.
Yes, it passes.
Okay.
Good. All right, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of vouchers, the 2021-145 bills list in the amount of $3,889,383.19. Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philpott,
Yes.
Council President Salem.
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Fincher, Councilman Lamb.
Yes. Ordinance on for introduction, first reading. Ordinance number 2021-07. Ordinance of the Borough of Lavalette, amending and revising the supplementing Chapter 7 of the Borough Code entitled Bathing and Beach Control. More specifics, Article 7-11X, entitled Prohibiting Smoking on the Beach During the Bathing Season, to include cannabis use as a form of prohibiting smoking. You want to explain some of that?
Yeah, Mr. Lim. In response to the recent legislation by the state gave us the option to be able to include marijuana and cannabis derivatives under the no smoking ordinance. The state statute actually does incorporate it as being applicable in any area where there is no smoking. However, good housekeeping, we are just going to go ahead and include it in our ordinance so that it is clear to everyone that smoking marijuana is the equivalent of smoking a cigarette or any tobacco products, a cigar, or vaping. It's all the same parameters right now. So if there is an incident on the beach in this particular circumstance, the next ordinance will cover other places, but for this, the beach and the boardwalk. The difference with this ordinance as well, as opposed to our old smoking on the beach ordinance too, this is year round. And that is because our old ordinance did not recognize the changes in 2019 that the state had put forth in the state law prohibiting smoking on public beaches and boardwalks. So now it is more reflective of the state statute. in terms of that.
Mr. Bryce, doesn't this also apply to parks?
The next one.
The next one?
Next one.
The smoking ordinance of the state applies to all public parks?
Public
If
parks.
if I may, Mr. Bryce.
Yep.
Councilwoman Philippone, the reason it is broken apart is, as opposed to most towns, Lavalette has the public beach, which is separately regulated by statute as a place of public accommodation. And we have a separate ordinance which regulates a lot of matters that are also regulated by other ordinances, specifically because of that. And in a couple of sections of the cannabis statutes, they do make reference separately to places of public accommodation. We felt it was in the best course to address it in Article 7, which is the beach regulations. We also did a substantial revision of the public places and public parks, which is coming up next.
Okay,
Thank you.
fine.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpone?
yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Finter?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes. Ordinance number 2021-08, 1215, ordinance of the Borough of Lavalette amending and revising the supplementing Chapter 53B of the Borough Code entitled Smoking Restrictions. More specifically, Article 1 entitled Recreation Areas to include cannabis use as a form of prohibiting smoking. I think Mr. Bryce explained that to us, that this is the one for the parks. If somebody can make a motion, I
So
appreciate it.
moved.
Okay. We have a roll call?
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpone?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Finter?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And the public hearing and final adoption for these two ordinances will be scheduled for June 7th.
Okay. Bonding ordinance 2021-09, 1216. Bond ordinance providing for the capital improvements and the acquisition of various capital equipment, appropriating $457,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $194,950 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof, authorizing in and by the Borough of Lavalette. Mr. Price, would you like to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. These are basically three of the projects that are included in our capital plan. Other projects are going to be covered through direct expenses. These three projects are phase 2 of the phase 2 of the Public Works building renovations. We're currently about to get going with phase 1, the roofing project. And then phase 2 will include more of the facade and ground level type improvements. This will also include a skid steer. We presently had 3 older skid steers. We've recently auctioned one of them. The 2 other ones we're kind of nursing along one at a time here. One of them has severe leaking issues. We can only use it in limited places. And that is the one that has the attachments that we use for drilling and augering and sweeping. The other one is one we just used up on the beach. We would also auction those 2 pieces of equipment and then go ahead and purchase a newer piece of equipment. This is going to become more of an important piece of equipment for us. We just got done doing winter rehabilitation up on the beach, which I'll talk about later. But a skid steer is going to help us tremendously, particularly with continuing to manicure our beach crossovers. And then the third item on this is the improvements, the road improvements to the west end of Bryn Mawr Avenue, west of Route 35 south. This is a little more extensive of a road improvement than we're used to. This is going to require some grading, more intensive milling, and some drainage work as well. No curb work will be included in that phase though. So those three projects.
Thank you, Ms. Rice. If I could have a motion on that bond ordinance?
I'll move it.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philippon,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Fincher,
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes. Bond ordinance 2021-10, it's 1217, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a bucket truck for the electrical utility appropriating $142,500 in bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof, authorizing in and by the Borough of Lavalette. You and I spoke about this, Mr. Bryce, and this one has to do with it's getting more restrictive in getting the approvals every year to, the truck has to be certified, and it's getting more difficult to get that done. Also, that it takes probably about a year in order to get the truck, even if if you start to look for one now, it's tough enough to get a pickup truck, let alone a bucket truck. So anything else I'm missing on that?
This is in 1999. It's served us well. It was extremely flooded during Hurricane Sandy, and throughout the years, we've been making repairs to a lot of the decay that it sustained then. Typically, in the industry, a truck lasts the average of 10 to 12 years, an electric utility type of lift truck like that. This is going to be probably 25 years by the time we retire it, even if we go ahead and order it right now. This is a bucket truck, and it's our primary material handler and lift for the installation of transformers, both pole mounted and ground mounted transformers. Some of the issues it's having right now, it's having air leaks in the braking system. And what that causes is the truck has to warm up for probably about at least 15 minutes before it can even build up enough pressure to move. There's been hydraulic issues in the past that we've had to correct. There's currently one of the outriggers is leaking hydraulic fluid. That would require us sending it back to Pennsylvania to the manufacturer to be repacked. That would be costly. Last year we had to send it there to have the controls redone. And that cost us several $1,000s there. What you alluded to is the electrostatic inspections that have to be done yearly. The company that previously did it will no longer certify the truck because it is so old. We did find somebody else that will do it for the time being. But again, because it is a 22-year-old truck right now, not getting any younger, because of the increasing costs for steel and vehicles and the wait time, is why we went ahead and put it on for this year. We were originally going to put it on for next year on capital, but I think we'll save ourselves some money by making a purchase this year.
Thank you, Mr. Price. If I could have a motion? Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Borowski,
Yes.
Councilman Philippon,
Yes.
Council President Salem,
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale,
Yes.
Councilman Fincher,
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
And both of those bond ordinances, the public hearing and final adoption is scheduled for June 7th.
Okay. Ordinance number 2021-05-1212, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 90 zoning, Article, I always forgot those Roman numerals. What is that? When you got an X and a C, that's, what would that be? You got 100 and
90.
That won't be me.
90.
Don't even ask me.
There you go, 90.
90.
Article 90 entitled General Regulations, most notably amending, revising, and supplementing 90-17 B and C, prohibiting any class of cannabis businesses within the geographical boundaries of the Borough of Lavalette.
To open up the public hearing.
So moved.
Open up the public hearing, if I could.
Okay.
I see no hands.
You guys can discuss it first and then as they come in.
This is a zoning use ordinance addition. We already prohibit certain types of businesses in town, and we're just adding this. It has been reviewed by the planning board, who agreed unanimously. It's pretty cut and dry. It fits within the law, and it prohibits the sale of cannabis in any of our
Businesses.
businesses.
No businesses.
It doesn't have anything to do with CB oil or whatever that does. That has no.
They can still continue to sell that
No,
stuff well.
You all, I'm sorry, no problem. Any hands at all? Okay, we're going to close that portion. And we're going to, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Roll call?
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Philippone?
Yes.
Councilperson Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Fincher?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
Motion
Okay,
passed.
so we're going to hear a little tune or something.
No music tonight?
Any old business that anybody would like to discuss?
I just want to fill everyone in on the beach. We, over the last week and a half, we've had DPW crews up there with a bulldozer. In accordance with the DEP, we've been, in our general plan, we've been regrading some of the damage that was sustained to the beach and the crossovers during the winter. There's some areas we are not able to touch though, and that's what I want people to realize. There's 10 blocks, 2 of them being the most northern blocks, 4 of them being the most southern blocks from Princeton south. And then I think in between Ortley and Carr, we could not put a bulldozer on those streets because of the beach amaranth plant that is evidently now taking up habitat in those areas. So in accordance with the directive from the U.S. Federal Fish and Wildlife, we could not re-excavate those areas. We're currently working with DEP and Fish and Wildlife to come up with a longer term plan on how we can continue to do maintenance in the beach in those areas and coexist peacefully with the amaranth. And I will give you an update as that goes. But you will notice in those areas, in all the other areas, we were able to go up by the dune and kind of pull the sand back a little bit so that someone isn't very easily able to walk onto the dune. Over the winter, the sand had accumulated up so that there was only maybe a foot or less of the actual east side of the fence showing. The problem we've had in the past is people walk right over that. So now we were able to fix that in 18 of our 28 blocks. Those 10 blocks I mentioned, though, the dune, you're just going to be able to walk right over it if someone is so inclined. So I would like to rely on signage, but we also cannot put signposts in those areas or any sort of digging. Wow. So we're just going to have to rely on.
How widespread are these plants?
Well, they're not there right now, to answer your question. They were observed last year during a survey. And then, like I said, over the winter, they're probably buried under 3 feet of sand right now. However, wherever they were, there's a possibility of germination of the seed. So their policy dictates that 100 yards from each plant would be the area that they would observe now for future, blossoms of the plant, which I believe occurs in June, July.
What would happen if somebody went up there and plopped their beach blanket down, their chairs, their umbrellas, and?
Well, that's why last year, you remember when they blossom, they have their volunteers come out and put the string and a straw around it. I think it lasted 2 days. But we would assist them in trying to put some sort of temporary structure around it so that somebody wouldn't do that. But again, we just need to know from them where it actually pops up. And we would definitely, by all means, assist them. I think their volunteers kind of put a little bit of a rinky-dink setup around it last year, and I think it blew away within a day or two. There was one area where there's a sign, but again, I don't know if the plant is even there right now, or it will come up this
I mean,
year.
what about if it was in a walkway or or on a handicap ramp? You couldn't go down there on in a wheelchair or anything like that, then, it's gonna.
That's messing with ADA at that point.
Yeah, I don't
Who wins?
know who's going to win that.
Well, you have
Taking
some,
a plate
you
to
have,
court
you have
on
some conflicting regulation. You're gonna stop beach access for the plant, or you're gonna stop the plant
Yeah.
for the beach access.
Well, I'll tell you, we spent a lot of time working out the new GP general plan for sand movement. And I thought we had it so that basically we would be able to maintain that dunes and crossovers as built by the Army Corps of Engineers. And I took that to mean that we would be able to preserve that east side and the fence line, in particular, the east side fence line, so that we can protect the dunes. That's the most important thing, protecting the dunes. However, the one clause in the GP said that the discovery of any species of animals or plants by the Federal Fish and Wildlife are to be, amend this plan to accordingly abide by that. So that's what happened, is they came forth with their
Mr. Bryce, quick
findings, and we
question.
had to adapt that.
Do you have any knowledge of any of our dune grass plantings or anything else where that species of plant was planted? Or anybody that was up there to plant that species?
Anybody that overtly, with our knowledge, planted it? No, I'm not.
Right, no, okay. Just for the record.
You like the way I answered it, though?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Did we have it before the beach replenishment?
Not that I am aware. That you haven't had it in the 4 years I've been here.
I know you've been working with them every day. I mean, to try to, get our public works up there to maintain it. And he's on the phone all day long, really, with them, right? I mean,
Yeah, it was extensive for us to
Yeah,
get done what we had to get done. But I just want people to know, when you think that your beach or your area wasn't touched, there was a reason why.
yeah. Okay, we'll move on to,
I'm sorry,
okay,
not
go
to
ahead.
steal your thunder, but the guys did a great job up there.
Yeah.
Roger
You read
Rice,
that.
Jake,
Yeah.
Franzosa, and they did a great job with the equipment up there, and they're very talented in being able to clear those pathways in the area and do it in accordance with the plan that they have. So I just want to
I
commend them.
appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. New business?
I could mention one thing, and I don't know, I spoke with Bob a little bit about it today. You probably are all aware, we got a wonderful matrix, the heavy mat that went from the ramp, the end of the ramp to the beach, right down to the water, which was wonderful. And a lot of wheelchairs are able to take advantage of that. And on President Avenue last year, one Sunday, there were 7 wheelchairs on the beach because they can use it. We were looking for a heavy mat to go on that ramp, on the President Avenue ramp. And I did go, we applied for a grant, and we were given a grant to have that whole mat put there. And the monies for the CDBG, usually they give you the grant, but then the monies doesn't become available with all the, it has to go through the commissioners, it has to go through this, it comes from the federal government to the county government. So the money usually doesn't become available till July. And I've been crying to the CDBG people and the government there, and Bob's been complaining too, that, we need this money to put the mat up for the summer. We don't need it for September. We need the mat in June to set it up, and so it's ready for the summer. So with all that complaining, we've been talking to Moby Mats, to Brett Gray, who's the representative here. And he sent Bob and me both an email after all complaining to him. He said, I spoke with my boss, and my boss said, send them the mat. When they get the grant, they can pay us. And that's in black and white. Send them the mat. When they get the grant, they can pay us. So we're hopefully going to be working on this legally, whatever, to make sure that works. Okay? It's in black and white, and I have it right in front of me. Sitting right in front of me, but Bob's going to look more into it. But that would be great if we could get that in June and get it all set up and use it for the month of June, the end of June, July, and August, and whenever. So we're working on that right now. I just wanted you to know that. Okay? Yes. Right, Bob? We'll work on that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Discussion of fire pits, is you can discuss that?
Yeah, and Mr. Bryce has done, created the list that you have, the paper that's in our packet. Just some highlights of what the things that we should be considering. Open fire flames on private property, homes and stuff are all really regulated under two state laws. One being the New Jersey Fire Prevention, under the Fire Code of the state of New Jersey, and the other under the Uniform Construction Code. So they overlap about what you can have, where you can have it, and it's all about safety. It's not about trying to prevent them. Certain containers are allowable, others are not. You can't have it too close to other structures that are flammable. Fire pits are not intended to be next to your house. They're supposed to be more in an open area. I believe that and Mr. Bryce can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm no expert, but the Uniform Construction Code says that the open flame container should be 15 feet from a structure. That means your house, your garage, your deck. Some of these things are not allowable on a deck unless certain safety, like layers of something underneath that protects the wood or protects the Trex or whatever the deck is made out of. There are, I was in the office today and we didn't get it, but I'm going to try to get a list of open flame containers. Some are chimeneas, and now they have those things that kind of look like the heat lamps that are used in some of the restaurants, but they're open flame things, tower looking things. I think if we go to the state fire department and get a list of what's acceptable, these containers or this type of container is acceptable, and then we have to enforce that if it's not on the list of acceptable, that it's not acceptable. In the fire safety and in the UCC, there are some areas where an inconvenience to a neighbor who's being offended by the smoke or whatever is considered. And a complaint can cause the police or the fire marshal or a fire officer or the zoning code enforcement officer to shut that open flame down. So I'm hoping that we can come up with an ordinance that primarily talks about safety, because I think that's my goal, is let's be safe, without being too restrictive so that we can still have some fun. They're nice gathering places for people. But I think because they've become so popular so quickly, they're a little out of hand and people are using them inappropriately in places. We've had some I've heard some pretty strong complaints, especially on the ocean front where the embers are flying. I mean, I do believe that you're supposed to have a screen or whatever above the flame so there are not embers. Certain things can be put in the fire and other things cannot. You're not supposed to use combustible liquids.
Are we going to draft something then?
I think we should, but I want to be careful. I don't have all the answers. That's for sure. I think that we need to pull in our fire department, the state fire marshal. There is one. I don't know who it is, but
Doesn't another town have an
I would
ordinance
think
that we
somebody
could,
else has something.
that written already that we could look at?
Long Beach Township.
Yeah. Yeah, look at some
I
of
have a
these.
whole thing that the township of Medford talks about all the state regulations and how it applies to the individuals. I wouldn't call what they have an ordinance per se, but there are a number of them out there. There's enough. I haven't found the list of acceptable. There's all kinds of new names. And at one time it was a fire pit. Now it's a chimney. And if it's not a chimney, it's got another name.
How do you want us to
And
proceed? then?
what's Jim looking at with the town?
Long Beach Township,
Yeah,
Long Beach Island, they
Right.
have a pretty.
They have it.
Outdoor fires and devices.
Oh.
This one you're looking at here too, I pulled this one from Manasquan, which
Manasquan,
is very
okay.
similar. density wise,
We should be able to
to
come up
us.
with
So that's
something.
why I pulled this one here, but that language is all from those,
Yeah.
except the end where we refer to our
Maybe
ordinances.
we can just use something like that.
Well, Mr.
Right.
13 miles.
Sure.
Okay.
Can we use the
Use some of those
samples and
Come up with
either
something.
come up with our own or
Maybe we'll
certainly
look at
ask,
that Long Beach one, see what that has. And then
Yeah,
we'll
good
look at-
idea.
ask Mr. George to
Yeah, come up with your own.
put it
George,
together?
take a look at that for us.
Certainly, we can have that ready for the next meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to put it in place for
idea.
the summer because I don't know if it's, I only know what I hear. I don't know. I can't swear to anything.
Yeah, I
A
think
lot
everybody
of,
agrees.
a lot of the renters where fire pits are on the property are not necessarily using the fire pit the same way the owner might use it. So we need to put the regulations in so that if there are abuses, that we can take care of them before we burn down the town.
I agree.
I
So
agree.
did you take a look at these two
Yep,
towns? Come up
we'll
with
do it
something.
that. Okay, comments from the public.
Before you go, I have one just
Okay.
request, please.
Sure.
It's been requested by a taxpayer and longtime resident. Can we put the flag back up down at the gazebo, the American flag?
I didn't know it was
Oh,
down.
it's gone. It's gone.
Has it?
Why?
Okay.
Because we didn't have a flag. Now we have one. We got two. Oh,
We have
we
two
got-
new
We
ones.
got two new ones we just got.
Can we put it back up?
Okay.
Okay.
We got the two donated flags. We could use that right away.
If they're the right size,
Yeah.
can we get it up? Certainly for Memorial Day, it should be up.
Sure.
Okay, comments from the public.
I see none. Oh, there's one.
Good evening, Mayor Council. Mark Speaker again. One question. The fire damaged house along the boardwalk at Trenton Avenue. Is there any updates as to what's happening with that? It's been literally years since that was damaged and still sitting there with the fence around it. It's pretty much an eyesore for the town.
Yeah, Mr. Bryn, the construction official, was actually in contact with the representative of the homeowner this week. There's still some insurance wrangling going on, but Mr. Bryn gave them a list of things to go ahead and do to tidy the house up for the time being. And they're going to go ahead and do that, and then they're going to keep him apprised of the developments that they are making with the insurance.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
In the meantime, I'm gonna read something, a proclamation for National Emergency Medical Services Week, which is May 16th through May 22nd. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. Whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. Whereas the members of emergency medical services, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. Whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week in the Borough of Lavalette. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Borough of Lavalette, New Jersey, do hereby proclaim the week of May 16th through May 22nd, 2021 as Emergency Medical Services Week in the Borough of Lavalette, and give a big thank you to our Lavalette First Aid Squad volunteers for all their time and effort to provide our residents, as well as our surrounding communities, the most steadfast medical services that are needed.
Thank you.
I'm going to give this to, I'm going to have it signed and everything, and then give it to First Aid Squad so they could hang it in their
Right.
building.
Good.
Okay, any further hands? Okay, we're going to close the public portion. Any comments from mayor and council.
I just have one, Councilman Lamb. Just a reminder to people, when you're picking up your badges on Tuesday or Friday, there's a spot designated on there for who can pick the badges up. We will not give them to anybody who is not on that sheet. If you're not a designated person to pick them up, you will not be given the badges. Just putting that out there. That is becoming a little bit of a trend and causing a little commotion down there
Could
at
be a
times.
problem. Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just have one thing.
Okay, Dave.
Downstairs, I put a little information bulletin, came from New Jersey American Water about plantings around your house, how to keep the water from running into the street, how to make a rain garden and rain barrels. So it's on the table downstairs in the hallway.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else?
I just
Nita?
want to mention that there's a swim fest going on. Did he bring this to the council that I missed approving this? But there's a swim fest called Lava Rocks, a swim fest, June 12th.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Did we
what-
approve this?
Before the
Okay.
season.
Yeah.
You brought it? Okay. And we can't put these in the community bulletin board. The triathlon.
Yeah, they're
It's
just
like
doing
the
the
triathlon,
swim thing.
But they're just doing the swim thing.
Yeah,
Is
they're
it
not
going
doing
in
the
bulletin board?
bike ride and the runner.
Can they go in? Community
No, we
bulletin
can
board? I
do
have a whole
flyers
list.
and stuff, but we can't put these.
You can,
in there.
okay. All right, well, then we'll leave one in the table, on the table downstairs, just in case.
Okay,
All right, and I also want you to know that there's a wonderful event going on June 3rd in this area. It's called Wreaths Across America. I was talking to Councilman Lamb and to the mayor last meeting about it, but I couldn't get to it because the meeting was canceled. But Wreaths Across America is a great event. It is the goal of this to bring the community together and teach patriotism while remembering the service and the sacrifices of American heroes. And it's going to be a full day. It's going to be on Thursday, June 3rd, 9 to 4. It's going to be in Seaside Heights, right near their VA, near the school and the VA. That whole area is going to be loaded with all kinds of food trucks and all kinds of exciting events. And our people in town are asked to be sponsors. And I would like to sponsor, if we could, Lavalette Mayor and Council. I don't know if legally we could do it as a governing body or individually, but I'd like the mayor and council to please support this. It's $150 to be a sponsor. So they put your name up and they have a big sponsor list. I talked to Bob and Wally about it last meeting and they were ready to say yes to it, but we couldn't get to it. So I would like to have your acceptance of this Wreaths Across America. And I don't know if you want to ask the attorney if we're allowed to do this with the borough money or does it have to be our money?
we can't do it with borough money.
Okay, so then,
What about like memorabilia money, trust fund money, donation?
should we do that?
Mr. George, can we make a contribution to Wreaths Across America through memorabilia or trust fund money?
It would have to come from an independent source. I think the only one that would be qualified is memorabilia.
Memorabilia.
There's money in the memorabilia account,
Correct.
and I have no problem with taking $150 out of there. I mean, Krista would have to certify that it's there, but I think there's like $1,400 or $1,500 in there.
Okay, I think it would be nice to say that the.
You still need that money? in
I don't, I don't, and this is a remembrance on behalf of us, so I
Right,
think it's
okay.
I
appropriate.
think it'd be great, and then we'll,
Just check with Krista that the money is available
I
and
have the form right here to send it.
and send it in,
Okay,
okay?
okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I'm going to be meeting with the executive director for Waves of Impact this week. They're going to be planning a date in August. We're going to decide what the dates are for their camp for the handicapped kids. So that's
good.
returning this year. So
Waves of Impact.
yeah, we look forward to it. And,
You
and
can't
I'll
go
get
on
with-
Trenton Avenue because those flowers might be blooming.
Yeah. A lot of stuff blooming on Trent Avenue.
Yeah,
Okay.
and what are we doing about?
Dave?
Yeah, you got the garage sale coming up.
Oh,
in a
yeah,
couple
June
weeks.
6th,
I
5th and
forgot
6th.
about that. I think that's the
5th and 6th.
5th and 6th. And also on the 26th of June, the LBA is running the food trucks over by the Bay parking lot.
Thanks, Dave.
Got a primary election too.
June 8th.
Yes.
Oh, we got the primary election on June 8th. So don't forget to vote.
Right.
Terrific. Okay. Do we have an executive session or?
Well,
Mr.
just
Bryce?
to clarify, I'm sorry, we should wrote on there unfinished. The, what do we want to do with Memorial Day? Do we want to do
Want to do something here or? What are we gonna do?
a ceremony out there? Do we want to do something here? What do we want to do?
I'm not real comfortable doing it over there at the Memorial Park.
Why?
So we'll do it here.
The governor today removed the mask requirement outdoors for everybody, vaccinated or otherwise. I think outside.
Well, we were going, remember last year, we were going to have it outside. This is a small thing. Didn't advertise it, but we were going to do it outside. But remember.
The weather was
we
something.
didn't, was because of the wind. So we moved it here. I mean, we could do it without advertising a lot of things because people don't keep their distance. People don't keep their
Okay,
distance
but we
at all.
don't, we didn't, nobody sent out any,
No,
nothing,
no-
the programs weren't
No
done, you don't have any
programs were done,
speakers,
no
nothing,
speakers, no nothing.
no
They don't want them in the school.
wreaths,
They don't want us in
nothing.
the school. They don't want us in the school. Nobody's sending wreaths in because we haven't done anything.
Well, we can still go
We could have
outside.
we could have a scaled down version.
Very scaled down.
And if we have to buy one wreath from the borough that's larger, you know, a
Just
little larger.
announce the killed in action from out of town and ring the bells and
Okay, town board wreath. Yeah, nobody wants to march. Kids don't want to march. Scouts don't
No,
wanna
no
march,
hunters.
nothing. Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
Okay, so 11 o'clock, we'll do something down there.
11 o'clock on what date? On the Memorial Day.
Right on
So,
Memorial.
okay.
The 31st, right?
31st.
It's on the 31st.
Okay, we'll do something small down there.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Just executive.
We do have executive session, and we have to come back to regular session.
Mr. George, do we have to come back? I don't think we're gonna have anything to vote on.
You only have to come back in, just to
Adjourn.
adjourn the meeting, but only take a moment. There are litigation and personnel matters to be discussed. And I don't anticipate that action will be taken when we return.
Okay, so we won't officially adjourn now. But we'll go.
To go into executive.
Should
That's
we have a
correct.
motion to go into executive session?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so be it. We'll do it right here.
You can do it right here.
You just shut that down?
That off.
have to do is.
You gotta wait for him to go on.
We have to, no, yeah, but we have to, oh, he's gotta go in there, but we can reconvene.
That makes sense, just note that during the executive session,
No idea.
question of civil services discussed. All the members who were present during the executive session, the number, the minutes were released, sharing the appropriate under the open public record.
Okay, Phil, we're gonna go ahead and make the motion to adjourn now.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Night, everybody.